Hello, it's Sonia here with A Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today is Tuesday, and that means it's Tunisian Tuesday. So we are going to be featuring a Tunisian crochet stitch today. So to do this, I'm going to be actually using a much larger hook than I usually do, and it's plastic. I don't love plastic hooks, but I thought let's do something a little different. So I'm using a P hook, or an 11.5 millimeter hook, and as you can see I did pop a rubber band on the end of that so my stitches don't slide off. And then the yarn that I'm using today is a number 6. I already started my chain, and it's Wool Ease Thick and Quick, so I actually know the brand of this yarn, and I thought it would be neat just to see how the Tunisian stitch looks in a chunkier yarn. Alright, so what you need to do is you can just chain any amount that you want. So I already went ahead and chained 10. So let's begin row 1. Row 1 is our setup row. So I'm going to turn my chain over in the back bump of my chain. I'm just going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to continue to pull up loops working in the back bump all the way across. And if you are not familiar with Tunisian crochet, I do have a playlist that goes over the basics. This is the forward pass. Tunisian crochet is worked in 2 parts for each row. So the first part of row 1, we are putting our stitches on our hook, which is the forward pass, and then the second part of row 1, we will be taking the stitches off, and that is called the return pass, and each part equals 1 row. You can see I'm not used to working with such chunky yarn. But there we go. So we should have 10 loops on our hook, and I do indeed. So if you chained a different amount, then you will have a different amount on your hook. So if you chain 14, you're going to have 14 loops on your hook. And you can use any hook size that you would like. I just wanted to see how this stitch looks with a thicker yarn. So let's work the return pass for row 1. You're going to yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops for the rest of the row. Alright, and there we go. So there is row 1. So this is going to be a 2-row repeat for this particular stitch pattern. So we are going to work row 2. We're going to work Tunisian knit all the way across. So if you're not familiar with Tunisian knit stitch, you're working through, usually you work in these vertical bars right here, but we're going to work through and pulling up. But when you look at the Tunisian knit stitch, it actually looks like a chain. So here's one leg of the chain, here's the other. So we're going to work in the center of that. So if you're not familiar with Tunisian knit, I do have that in the playlist that goes over this stitch more in depth, and I do consider Tunisian knit stitch a basic Tunisian stitch. I actually think there's 3. There's Tunisian simple, Tunisian knit, and Tunisian purl. And if you can do all 3 of those stitches, then you can probably do anything you want in Tunisian crochet. And now this stitch here in the end, it looks like a chain. We're going to insert our hook through that chain and pull up a loop. Alright, so let's work our return pass for row 2. Yarn over, pull through 1. Yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row. Okay, so there we go. There is row 2. So now we're going to begin row 3. So we're going to work Tunisian purl, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so I'm just going to grab this double pointed needle just to show you where we need to work. So as I said before, the Tunisian knit stitch, we work through. So this is the vertical bar we normally work, but as I said before, when you spread it apart, you can see the loop, the vertical bar behind it. So here's the one we normally work in, but here's this one back here. We're going to actually work in this guy back here. And we're going to do that in Tunisian purl. So we need to have our yarn in front. And I usually kind of just spread it apart. And so there you can see this loop here is where we're going to insert our hook, bring it forward, and yarn over and work that purl stitch. So there you can see there's the purl. So we actually need to skip this next vertical bar because it's actually part of the same stitch, and we're going to continue across. So here is the next stitch here, and we're going to work in that bar behind and work that purl stitch. So we're purling all the way across, just continuing. Now I'm at my last stitch that looks like a chain there. I'm inserting my hook. And we work our return pass like we've been doing. Yarn over pull through 1, yarn over pull through 2. Okay, so there we go. So what you're going to do is you're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 for however long you want your swatch, and you will end on a purl row before our bind off. So I'm going to work a couple more rows here and then I will meet you back. Alright, so I just worked a couple rows here. I ended on a row 3, the purl row. So now we need to bind off. So we're just going to bind off in pattern here. And with this yarn, you can't really see the stitch pattern that well. It's really cool. It's just a simple variation of knit and purl, but it just gives like a real pretty look here. But let's bind off. We're going to bind off. This would be a knit row, so you're going to insert your hook in that next vertical bar and knit, and just work your bind off stitch. So if you're not familiar with bind off, that is in the playlist. It just is finishing off your Tunisian crochet project so that it looks its best. So it's kind of well, it's not kind of, it is a combination of Tunisian crochet and regular crochet. So you're basically working a slip stitch and also working the Tunisian crochet stitch. And then that last stitch that looks like a chain. Work the bind off. Now the funny thing is with this one, usually when you throw in purl stitches it doesn't curl, but this guy does curl quite a little bit, but not too bad. It has a lot of nice texture. It's quite a nice dense stitch, so I think it would be really warm for like a scarf, a cowl, an ear warmer. I think it would be a great stitch pattern for that. It does have a little bit of flexibility. So I went ahead and made 2 other swatches so that you could see it with different yarns and hooks. So here is one I made. So this one I used an H hook and number 4 yarn. So you can kind of see the stitch pattern a little bit more with this guy, and I just think it's super pretty just the way that it turned out with the purl stitches and the knit stitches. And then I went ahead and I used DK weight yarn and I used a case hook. So here is the DK weight yarn with the K hook, and using the larger hook with the thinner yarn actually gives it a lot of nice flexibility. Like I think you could make this could be a nice ribbing actually. Usually Tunisian crochet is not very stretchy, but using the larger hook and the thinner yarn does give a stretchier fabric, which is really cool. So there you go. So you can see it a little bit better, how the stitch definition is with these swatches here than with this chunky one. I do really like this stitch. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.